Hi, my name is Adam Liu, and I'll be talking about learning ASU. Originally, I did my topic on why we fall asleep in class, or in other words, why we can't pay attention in class. And eventually, next slide, I realized that this is really a vehicle of how to learn how to learn. Next slide. So my first piece of evidence that I got from my research came from Robert Frost, who's a flight instructor. And he said that educators know next to nothing about the learning process and instructional theory. But the supporting evidence that he gave came from John Medina's book, Brain Rules, which was that chart from below, which basically says that at the 10-minute mark, students will lose most, if not all, attention in most lectures from what he observed. Now, the weird discrepancy between these two evidences that Robert Frost provided is that Robert Frost is blaming professors, whereas John Medina's evidence is supporting and saying that students are the cause of this. So the question is, who is really to blame for this? Next slide. And these are the points that Jacob Kashiwagi mentioned during his leadership thesis. Next slide. Which pretty much explained that you can't really blame one side of it. It's really both of them. A few times actually. That's good. And the leader creates the structure, and next, actually just finish the slide yet. And the student has to act within that system. So I really liked his visual that he gave us, which is this toy basically, and that shapes have to fit within the structure. Next. But the type C thing to do, of course, is to blame each other's style, where that one point of failure is, where the teacher's style doesn't match up with the student, and the student's style doesn't match up with the teacher. The type A thing to do would be to change the styles, because you can't expect the other person to change. Next slide. Click 3 times. And this happens because, next, yeah. This happens because we all have our own expectations of each other. The professor, well, in the case where there's failure, will have an expectation of who the student is. Therefore, they won't see the student for who they are, and they won't change the teaching style. When there's failure with the student won't see the professor for who they are, and so they won't change their learning style of who the professor is. Next slide. So the question then comes, how do we become good students or good professors? Thanks. Or good professors? From the observations from what the Kashiwagis have been doing is no rules. What else is it? No rules. They understand the demographics and they only display dominant information, right? So what that means is any rigid shape will fit within their non-rigid system. To be a good student, it's the complete opposite. Instead, what we want to do is not be a rigid shape so that we can fit into into full rigid structures, right? You can't expect a professor to change. Next slide. So the answer of how we can actually become like water then comes to the periodic table of elements. And that is we are all made of elements, right? And the periodic table of elements displays every discovered element that we have. Every element can become a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Therefore, we can also become a solid, liquid, or a gas. I can't tell you the answer of how you're going to be specifically like a solid, or a liquid, or a gas, but I can tell you how I did. Next slide. This is me. Ever since birth, I've spent roughly about 20,000 to 30,000 hours on video games alone, which is approximately 11% of my entire life, and these are just statistics on the past 4 years at ASU alone. Next slide. Now, go on bar a few more times. There we go. That's good. This may seem like I've been wasting time, all this time, all the way up to where I am now, but really what I've been doing is simulating mechanics, rules, and resource management within my head to understand systems and structures that give me points, victories, and deliverabilities, or requirements, how we say in engineering, which meant that in elementary school, I was very good at math and science, but not so good at English and history. Ultimately, I was so bad that my parents said I was incompetent, and I was actually almost about to flunk out of just elementary school. So, as any sane Asian parent would, they hired a tutor. But as you can imagine, from what we've learned in IMT, no one can be influenced or controlled, right? So next slide. So my first progress report comes back. Nothing changes, right? It's not my professor or my tutor's fault, nor is it my parents' fault. They spent money, they spent time, but I'm the reason that I didn't improve. Next slide. So what had to happen was a change, and I had to make this change. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I'm standing right now. I wouldn't be an engineer, and I'd probably be sitting at home, drinking Mountain Dew and eating Doritos at home. So in video games, I hate underperforming and I hate losing. So I noticed, okay, well, in video games, I'm successful. In math and science, I'm successful. So what do I need to do? Next slide. And it was actually very simple. All I've been doing is simulating equations, formulas, calculations into the now, and into the world that I live in right now. So once I began doing the exact same thing for the other courses, that and making learning my game, learning became fun. And as a metric to see how successful this truly was, my high school GPA matches my graduating ASU GPA this semester. This all came from accepting who I was as a person, accepting my limitations, and accepting how I have to learn. Next slide. Now, the big message that I want you all to take away from this is you also can figure out how to be the best learner. You also can succeed at all that you need to do. And for my 2 years of experience at working an engineering job, what I've noticed is you're never going to have anyone sit you down and tell you, hey, this is your documentation, this is how I want you to do your project, this is exactly how you're going to do your job. Instead, you have to figure that out for yourself. But the main thing that I found out that the best thing to do is you can't rely on Google all the time, right? You have to rely on the only person that's going to do the job, and that's you. And from now on, all you're going to be learning as is yourself. So, next slide. And these are my references, and any questions? Any questions?